So I'm Will Vincent, a second year and fellow at the Center for Digital Strategies. And I'm here with Perry LaForge, who's a T'84, currently chairman of the CDMA development group. Thank you for coming today.
Happy to be here.
So in your role at the CDMA development group, could you briefly describe what CDMA is and why it's important for viewers?
Well, CDMA, first of all, CDMA is a digital technology that's used for wireless communications. When wireless phones first developed, they were based on analog. And then as the products matured and technology matured, we all moved over to various digital technologies. CDMA is one of those technologies and has been really responsible for a lot of the things you see happening now on 3G, because it's the underlying technology that drives a lot of that.
Great. So you were involved with some of the first trials of CDMA technology in the late 1980s. Could you describe what the feeling was back then about its potential and how you've seen that played out over the last few decades?
Sure. Well, when we were building out wireless networks in the mid-'80s, shortly after I left Doc, there was a real need for capacity because we knew wireless was going to continue to grow. Some of the techniques that were discussed back then, we believe, didn't necessarily, fit the needs for wireless into the 90s or even into the next decade. So, I was working with a company called Pactel at the time that was building out Los Angeles, and we came up with the idea how to use CDMA for cellular, and worked with a company and actually helped get a company started called Qualcomm down in San Diego. And so it was really out of our group that we pulled together CDMA. It took a lot of doing. It was the early days of wireless, so it was easier to do things back then because you could drive the industry. So we had to actually organize handset manufacturers. We had to organize the standards. We had to get Qualcomm funded. We had to do trials. It led to a lot of travel all over the world. So it was a pretty risky thing at that point in time. We started in '88. Didn't really see the first systems launch until 1995 in Hong Kong. Today, Qualcomm is a multi-billion-dollar company. CDMA is in, I don't know, some 100+ countries around the world, 300 operators, I think. So we've seen a lot of growth in the technology. And again, I think a lot of what CDMA has done has driven this whole 3G revolution because you really couldn't do what was needed to do with 2G systems. CDMA really powers what people want to do in terms of wireless internet and internet access.
So in addition to your role at the CDMA, you also have a long history as an entrepreneur. I wonder if you could expand a bit upon where you see commercialization opportunities today in the wireless space.
Well, part of my group, the CDMA development group, which we created to sort of bring CDMA around the world, has people in various parts of the world. I have people in India, I have people in Africa, I have people in China, people in Brazil and South America. One big opportunity I see is the globalization of wireless. There's still a lot of unconnected people who don't even have basic telephony service. That's going to occur via wireless. And we've been very aggressive about bringing down the price of handsets. Handsets now, for example, due to some of our efforts, are below the $20 mark in India. So if you extrapolate that, you can say, really people's phone access in developing economies will be wireless. And then you throw on top of that the price reduction we've seen in terms of digital technologies and the ability to do internet access. People's first, perhaps, involvement with the internet might come through wireless. So I think one big area is a whole developing economy area, developing countries where people get their basic telephony and wireless internet and the internet access through wireless. So that's a huge area. I also think with the move towards, the proliferation of wireless data and you hear people talking about how much data is being used in wireless today with the growth of the Apple iPhone. You hear a lot about network capacity issues and networks bogging down. Well, it's a real issue. People didn't anticipate this phenomenal growth that we've seen in wireless. So I think there's techniques that need to be developed, such as smaller cell sites, different ways of carrying traffic off the carrier network that I think will provide some really interesting opportunities in the infrastructure side. And so there's some activities that are taking place in the venture community in those areas. I think those will be very hot areas for investment. On the application side, location-based services are going to be big. We've recently seen a lot of activity in mobile advertising. I think that will continue. And in particular, I think there's some opportunities in mobile payment and all sorts of things like that developing with the sort of proliferation of wireless data and connectivity of all these devices.
For much of your career, you were with the management consulting firm PRTM. I wonder if you could speak about some of the common issues you saw among clients during your career as they tried to innovate and commercialize in the wireless space.
Right. Well, the PRTM serves a number of industry segments from medical to aerospace and defense. Telecommunications was the area that I helped start up. I would say probably one of the biggest things that we always looked at was time to market issues. Coming to market, being able to pull together core teams, pull together diverse groups of teams to get products out to market more quickly, whether it's a physical product or it's a service. And doing that in a way that you can develop the right product in the shortest amount of time. Sounds easy? It's not easy. And that was a key area that we always worked on. So program managing, helping people implement in a very timely fashion was always something that we worked on and was a sort of staple for our consulting practice over the years.
For MBA students interested in a career in wireless, what criteria would you use to evaluate that first post-MBA job? Function, title, sector, how would you do it if you were graduating today from Tuck?
Probably the way I did it just in my own job search back then. A lot of it is just opportunistic. You sort of run into an opportunity and you take it. I think I would look for trying to work with people that are connected, people that you can learn from, and getting a base, people that are willing to teach you. I wouldn't be so quick to jump to a startup because I think probably people don't realize that 1 out of 10 of these things are successful. You hear it, you don't really understand it, but you might invest 6 years of your life and then realize that you picked not the one, and that's a hard thing to recover from. So I would try to build up a base of experience by working with people that are fairly well connected, because they will always, if you respect them and you work with them well, they'll shepherd you in the right areas. And I was always fortunate when I came at graduate school to work with people that mentored me and also provided me an opportunity to work with a bunch of phenomenal folks, and then was able to network across the industry very well. And I think that allowed me to get involved in so many different areas in the wireless space.
Great. Well, Mr. LaForge, thank you for your time today, and thank you for speaking with us.
Thanks for having me here.